got it.
What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to MANIACITV, man. Today we got the real FBG Duck story, the documentary from the Publish X YouTube channel, man. Y'all know we've been rocking with Publish X's content for a minute now on the channel, and I've been waiting for somebody to drop a documentary on Duck, man. RIP FBG Duck. Now listen, it's a lot of news surrounding Duck's name right now. Y'all know on this channel, man, I've been an avid supporter, not just Duck, not just Von, but just drill overall, especially Chicago drill. We don't pick sides on this channel. We support everybody, man. RIP Duck, RIP Von, RIP to all the fallen soldiers. But we about to see the real FBG Duck story about Duck's life, his upbringing, all that. Let's get it.
Chicago rapper who was gunned down here on one of Chicago's ritziest streets. They say 2 other people were also shot when 4 gunmen, witnesses say, jumped out of cars and fired from just a few feet away.
I still can't believe this.
It's an act of violence that took place on an August day in the Gold Coast against a Chicago rapper. And then it was promoted and bragged about on social media. And the feds say it was because of that helped them make this case.
And it's me. Think about it. It's me. This is Duck we talking about. One of my ops see me, they ass gonna squeeze. Because they want to kill me so fucking bad.
Duck was way ahead of his time, man. I feel like Duck and just his street smarts, he knew. When you in this lifestyle, you know. All these guys, whether it's Duck, Von, G Herbo, Dirt, all them niggas, you know. That if it come down to it, if it comes down to where you in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know what's gonna happen. Duck knew that, man.
Yeah, it's gonna squeeze.
Us as fans, though, we swear, like, honestly, I felt like Duck was untouchable. All these people we lost in drill for the past decade, I thought Duck was damn near untouchable.
Because they want to kill me so fucking bad.
Crazy. Look.
Carlton Weekly was born December 6, 1993 in Chicago, Illinois. Carlton grew up.
He was born a year and a day before I was born. I was born December 7th, 1994. So he was December 6, 93.
Carlton Weekly was born December 6, 1993 in Chicago, Illinois. Carlton grew up on the south side in an area known as the Low End. Raised in Ida B. Wells to be exact, it was called the Low End because it was the area where all the low-income projects were located. He had a huge family with cousins and relatives all over the east, south, and west side of Chicago. Although this can be a blessing, in a city like this, that means even relatives can become ops depending where they reside.
Definitely.
That's how seriously the gang war in Chicago is taken by those who are involved. When he was 3 years old, his father was convicted and sentenced to 24 years behind bars. He would spend his childhood living with his mom and siblings at their grandmother's home on 60.
So his pop's about to get out this year? Because if he was 3, Duck would have been 27 this year. So his pop's about to get out pretty soon then.
Bars. He would spend his childhood living with his mom and siblings at their grandmother's home on 63rd and St. Lawrence. Sometimes there was as many as 15 people living with her. His grandma was nicknamed the Queen of the Low End because of this, and whenever she relocated, the whole family would follow. With his dad behind bars, Carlton said it made him mature faster and taught him to take responsibility early on. His mom gave him the nickname Chunky Duck as a child because of his size, and it ended up sticking.
It's enough said, bro. Feel me? Hey, let me get some of this shit, though, man. Let me let
As Duck turned from a child to a teenager, he took a liking to the street life in Chicago. For someone with such a large family, he had connections with just about everyone. The neighborhood Duck was from would eventually start their own sect called STLEBT, to which he would join. Initially, he and his friends were known for being big potheads who occasionally robbed small-time drug dealers and did home invasions. Before he ever picked up a gun, he was known to be a good fighter, and he was bigger than most kids his age. Duck used to go to Parkway Gardens or Wick City to fight and was rumored to have never lost. He was that good.
Wow.
Eventually, the fighting wouldn't suffice as the war between the BDs and GDs was only getting worse, and Duck was growing up in the middle of it. He would bring a lot of guys from other sets around who would later join STL, and he was becoming a well-known member. Around this time, Duck was becoming really close friends with a guy named Shondale, or Tuka as some know him. In January of 2011, Tuka was shot and killed at a bus stop, which turned Duck's heart cold. He was just with him, and now he was gone.
You know when you meet a motherfucker and you real close to him, then if y'all click, then y'all click, you feel me? And me and him clicked, like that was one of my real close friends, like every day, like spend the night at his.
You know what's crazy? You look at the year 2011. 2011 really morphed Chicago, or Chirac, as everybody calls it, into what it is today. That was right before drill really went mainstream. Because you look at Tuka being killed, that fueled the fire on the GD side. And then, you know, the formation of O Block when OD got killed, that fueled the fire on the BD side. So 2011 was like that year. So literally for the past decade, shit's just been up in the air. Shit's been hitting the fan since then. It's crazy how that year was like a pivotal year to, you know, with this war in Chicago.
And me and him clicked, like that was one of my real close friends, like
That's
every day,
crazy.
like spend the night at his house.
By now, Duck was fully engulfed in the streets and he had no intentions of taking any other path in life. While this is happening, a guy named Billionaire Black started coming around STLEBT, and he too became good friends with Duck. Billionaire Black was an aspiring rapper who knew a lot about the industry, and he encouraged Duck to start rapping since he had been talking about it and freestyling for years. At the time, STLEBT had multiple op sets who were all getting recognition in the Chicago drill scene.
Chief Keef, all
As we
them.
know it, they often used music as a way to not only talk about the war, but throw disses as well. With some of them even getting nationwide exposure, Duck wanted to become the voice of his set, and that's what he did. He and a few
I
other
ain't gonna lie. When I think of Duck side, I think of FBG Duck. When I think of the GD side, like there's a lot of them that come to mind. But like when you talk about like the faces of it, FBG Duck, Lil J and Lil JoJo, I feel like we're the faces of the GD. You know, shout out to, you know, Pete Rico, you know, Mr. RP Mister. You know, it was a lot of them, like I said, but I feel like Duck, Lil J, and Lil JoJo definitely, I say, like if you talking about Mount Rushmore for the GD side, definitely was them.
would form their group, Flyboy Gang, or FBG, because they thought they were the flyest guys in school. It would also later be referred to as the Clout Boys, and Duck sometimes would be called Big Clout, but for the most part, he birthed FBG Duck here.
All these ops steady hate saying what they gon' do.
Yo, I used to listen to this in high school.
FBG Duck here.
All these ops steady hate saying what they gon' do. Sneak dissing on these songs, but they never ever
He started recording his first songs and releasing them in early 2011, but he was still heavy in the streets. Duck was still shooting, robbing, beating people up, and selling drugs. He became a huge target after releasing his Duck freestyle on August 11th. The reason this was a big deal was because a man named O.D. Perry from Wick City was just shot to death hours before he dropped the song. This made O-Block furious, and he became a target. Although this may have seemed like negative attention, it jump-started his rap career, as the song gained a few 100,000 plays. He continued to release songs constantly, and his name only got bigger from there. Duck always had a crowd of friends that also rap, and he would put them on throughout his career. He wanted everyone to win. He was slowly becoming the biggest rapper the Gangster Disciples ever had, along with Lil JoJo. But JoJo was murdered in 2012, so Duck made it a point to keep his legacy alive and put on for the GDs.
FBG shit. Turn up. FBG, bitch.
With this type of reputation came a lot of responsibility. Duck was really the breadwinner, and it was up to him to supply his side with guns and resources to make sure everyone around him was good. He was leading the BDK movement, which made him a really big target to O-Block, 600, and other sets who wanted him gone. He was carrying the entire block on his back. Because it's no secret these sets wanted Duck dead, he would have a few near-death experiences throughout his career. In June of 2013, he was shot in his calf, and again shortly after shot in the ankle. He was even stabbed in the stomach by his ex-girlfriend at one point.
Damn.
This didn't faze him though, and he continued the BDK movement despite both sides.
I want to say this real quick because even on a lot of documentaries when they talk about the war in Chicago, or even when I used to react to FBG Duck back when he was alive, even, you know, every reaction I got, I would either get people all on Instagram like, why you reacting to this nigga? Or, you know, niggas that be in the comments just on the internet, weird shit. And it's like, no matter how you feel about Duck, no matter how you feel about any of these niggas, man. But when it comes down to FBG Duck, no matter what you feel about him, you can't deny that this man went hard for his side. Same thing could be said for King Von. It's a lot of people, a lot of fans nowadays, because music is so, I don't know, street politics and music politics are intertwined now. So now fans thinking that they beefing with these niggas, and you know, everybody adding the K to the end of these gangs and stuff. Everybody want to be into it with everybody in the rap game. It's really weird to me. I never understood that, but it's like, regardless if you a big supporter of Duck or you a big supporter of King Von and Durk and them, you can't deny, like, if you fuck with Duck, you can't deny how hard King Von went for his side to his last days. You can't deny, if you a fan of Von and them and you don't really fuck with Duck, you gotta admit, Duck went hard for his side to the end of his days. To the end of his days, man. And it's like, we look at, and I'm gonna just talk about Duck and Von specifically, because we look at them, and if you talking about in recent years, like, listen, we lost a lot of people. RIP to everybody we lost in this war in Chicago. But I say in recent years, man, the loss of Duck and Von last year, 3 months apart from each other, was definitely the hardest hit. Definitely the hardest loss in drill in a very, very long time. Like, two of possibly the most realist and most solid people when it came down to not just rapping about this shit, but actually living this shit. Like, come on now, you gotta give both of them they props. Like, listen, they just didn't do this shit in the studio. They was really with this shit for their side. So regardless how you feel about the other, you gotta admit these niggas was real to their last days.
At one point. This didn't faze him though, and he continued the BDK movement despite both sides losing countless members. Duck was actually known to be a shooter. Although it's not confirmed he's actually killed anyone, he shot and wounded multiple people, including O-Block's T-Roy, who was best friends with King Von. Eventually, Duck's music career was doing so well that he didn't even have enough time to be in the streets as much as before. He was still being blackballed as other rappers didn't want to collab with people like Duck, because if they did, they would probably be cutting ties with all his ops, such as Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and the 600 rappers, who were much more mainstream.
Yeah.
But he was still making...
And that's the other thing about the rap game that'd be like so funny to me though. And it's like, you kind of still see it today, not just with Chicago, but you see it with YoungBoy and Fredo Bang. Like, not so much anymore, but there was a time when niggas was scared to collab with Fredo Bang because they didn't want to get on YoungBoy bad side. It's like, they beef ain't got nothing to do with you. It's, at the end of the day, this a business. It's a business, man. And they look at it like, well, Chief Keef and Durk, like, they name buzzing. Everybody know who they are. I get them on my song, man. My shit doing millions off top. If I put Duck on my song, I'm gonna get a lot of hate. I'm gonna be on the bad side of all of these mainstream niggas. I don't know, man. It's crazy.
Lil Durk and the 600 rappers, who were much more mainstream. But he was still making noise and doing big numbers online. In 2017, his life changed forever after seeing his brother and cousin shot dead on the scene. He immediately broke down in tears with his mom and sister. He was angry and really wanted to avenge them, but his mother convinced him to get revenge through his music, not the streets. Duck released the song Slide shortly after, which would become his biggest to date with over 50 million plays. The song is considered one of the biggest drill hits of all time, and really gave Duck the recognition he deserved after almost a decade of music. 21 Savage would hop on the remix and is one of the only mainstream artists to collab with him. After this, he signed a record.
And it's like, and look at 21 Savage. 21 Savage collabed with Duck. 21 Savage invited King Von to his birthday party, so King Von, and I think 21 Savage even bought King Von's sister a car. If I'm like, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but like, look at that in that situation, man. 21 went out and did what a lot of other niggas was kind of low-key probably scared to do. He went out and collabed, like, cause this is real nigga shit right here, man. You ain't gotta, man, listen, I ain't gonna get into that, but y'all know what I'm
he deserved after almost a decade of music. 21 Savage would hop on the remix and is one of the only mainstream artists to collab with him.
Yeah.
After this, he signed a record deal worth around $2 million. He essentially made GD history as he was touching the same type of money Von, Keef, and Durk had. Some have rumored that Duck tried to stop the war, but it's unknown if it's true or not.
I feel like
he did, however, release songs like Chicago Legends in 2019, where he honored legends from both his side and the other side. something that takes a lot of humility to do. Unfortunately, he was already in too deep, and the target on his back too large.
What they want me to do?
On August 4th, 2020, Duck set out to the Gold Coast of Chicago, an area that's known for its high-end luxury stores. It was broad daylight, and he was shopping for his son whose birthday was coming up. Duck and his girlfriend were seen by fans inside the store, to where he realized he needed to leave before his location was leaked. They went into the Dolce & Gabbana store to avoid conflict and waited. He purchased an expensive shirt and a pair of socks for his son's birthday. And with people recognizing him still, he asked the store clerk if he could leave out the back. The worker told him no due to the merchandise being in the back of the store. Given no choice, after about 10 minutes they thought it was safe to come out. The Gold Coast was not a place where crime, especially murder, was heard of. As Duck and his girlfriend exited the store, 2 cars pulled up next to him and opened fire. Duck tried to shoot back, but his gun jammed. He fell to the street floor where he was shot around 15 times. He would pass away later that night, just 2 days before his dad was set to be free from his 24-year sentence. O-Block celebrated while STLEBT mourned the loss of Duck. A dozen cop cars parked on King Drive that night in an attempt to avoid retaliation from the GDs.
They knew.
Posters even went up around the city warning people to stay inside. That's how impactful.
Listen, this right here goes to show how deep this shit is, man.
Duck was in the community.
They put up posters, the community builders, urgent safety alert. They know. Like, listen, anybody from either side that get killed, they probably put this shit up all the time. Advising people, stay inside. If you don't have to be out here, don't be out here. Come on now.
Almost a year later, 5 people were found to take part in his murder, but only 4 were arrested after 1 took his own life. If convicted, they face a minimum of life in prison and the possibility of the death penalty.
Shit crazy.
A lot of people question why Duck wouldn't move out of Chicago after signing his multi-million-dollar deal like the other rappers did. He answered this by stating too many people in Chicago relied on him for him to get up and leave, but this ultimately cost him his life. There's no question Duck's legacy will live on with his music, and when speaking from legends from Chicago, he deserves to be remembered.
So he stayed, and he still made a way. But it was happening. It was finna happen. It was finna happen. And then he was murdered in broad daylight in the most safest, prestigious place in Chicago.
R.I.P. Duck. Like I said, R.I.P. to all the fallen soldiers that we lost in this whole thing, man. It's just crazy because it's like that $2 million deals, yeah, you should have got up on out of Chicago. But like I said, when you so real, like, you know, you look at other people like, you know, I can't leave them behind. That's where it get tough, man. That's where it get tough, man. The real FBG Duck story documentary from Publish X, link down below in the description for y'all to check it out in its entirety, uninterrupted. If y'all new to the channel, y'all rock with me, want daily reaction videos, man, hit that subscribe button for me. Until the next video, I'll see y'all then. Thank you for watching MANIACITV. I'm out.
I ain't gotta do too much. I swear that these niggas, they be doing too much. I ain't gotta